Hello and welcome to the All the Pies YouTube channel. My name's Kev, that is Davy, and we're back with another podcast. This time we're going to be having a little look forward to the Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff, the third one this season, as Newcastle United will be taking on Chelsea. Without further ado, let's get into it.
God, he scored so many goals.
Harry Davy,
Hey,
how are you doing?
I'm all right. I just it feels like ages since we've done a one, but we actually did a one, but it never saw the light of day.
It
And
didn't.
it was the best one we've ever done as well. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
It was. I bet you
Even
enjoyed those. I bet you enjoyed those clips at the beginning, did you,
and
Davy?
the clips were fantastic.
And that bit when that woman burst in with no clothes on, and the two were
I
gobsmacked,
know,
weren't we?
I know. It
And
was
we had to
hilarious.
censor it all out.
And then it didn't get on, and it's typical. But these things happen.
Nah, a few technical issues. Couldn't get the last one out. Apologies, but couldn't be helped. But we are back. We are back. We are back indeed. And it does feel like it's been a long time. We've had an international break, which
Oh,
always,
no.
always
Don't
really
yawn. Don't.
exciting.
I've just told you I'm feeling drowsy anyway on these new meds. However, I'll be falling asleep in the middle of your patter, which
Aye.
is like I'll probably do that anyway. Like, but
I'll just shout down the microphone if you fall asleep, Davey. Wake up, wake up! I saw that. Well, there's the international break was as boring as ever. But off the field and away from the international football, was a few bits and pieces going on, wasn't there? We'll start with the Newcastle United related stuff before we get into the actual preview.
yeah.
And they tried to stop waiting with tracks, but failed, didn't they? So the Premier League, they met up and they were having a vote to see whether it was fair. It's not fair. Newcastle's going to get the players. It's not fair. Don't know what's wrong with this. But yeah, no, they didn't get it across the line, did they? And I never thought they would get that across the line. To be honest with you, Davey, there was too many teams in there who have an interest in exactly that. And fair enough, it might be. I think it's probably a different interest for us because I think the caliber of players we would be looking to bring in from the Saudi. The other clubs I voted against it probably voted against it for a different reason, I would say, as in, the likes of Brighton, Nottingham Forest, they'll probably want to be sending their players off to these other clubs to try and get a bit of football and sort of keep them in house that way.
Yeah.
What did you make of it all?
I tried not to sort of think too much about it because it's these things that are out of your hands and you kind of do anything about that. You just think, oh, how. But I was unsure. I thought it was going to be close, but there was a couple that came in at the end that obviously I was pleased about that people hadn't thought of. It just seems to me that the whole point of it changing the rules halfway through the season, which is what a lot of commentators have said,
Mm-hmm.
is just ludicrous. You cannot just suddenly change just because, and that, is it just about Newcastle? I don't know. I read a long thing. My mate sent us a thing from The Athletic, and it was a long piece on it, and they were trying to say it's not just about Newcastle, it's about lots of other things. But if you think about it, I mean, Watford used to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Watford used to send players back and forwards. Nobody batted an eyelid. Nobody said anything. There's other clubs have done it as well, and
I think I think it was the scale that raised the eyebrows, didn't it? You've got Man City, you've got multi-club ownership, but you'll normally find like do they use them as a feeder club, or do they use them clubs to send their players out on loan to? They say, like I said before, the same with Nottingham Forest. I think Chelsea, they've got a team that where maybe they'll send players off to. Whereas for us, it was, we could be bringing in Benzema's and Neves's and
exactly. I mean,
and
the
the
thing
money
is,
as well, isn't it? It's the money because the money that they've got, they'll be looking and going, well, hang on, this is a bit of a loophole, which has always been there, but on scale terms, it's a bit of a different scale now, isn't it?
There were a couple of things came out, and those types of players have been mentioned, but there's no guarantee that we're going to get them. There's no guarantee they want to come over. But I thought about it, and you've seen some of the crowds can they even be called crowds? There's a handful of people going watching those games. Now those players they basically went for the money. There's no two ways about it. They went for the money. They didn't go for any other reason. And if they can get the same money, their wages are not going to drop to suddenly come to us. Then would you rather play in front of 950 people and a couple of camels, or would you rather play in front of 52,000 at St. James's Park? Do you know what I mean? And I know what I would rather do. I'd be camels all day, me. But it's just one of them things. And then what do you call him? Oh man, his name Carragher. Carragher was bleating on again, and he was because the whole thing is because of Tonali. That's why it came up. And he's going, "Oh, Newcastle didn't do due diligence, and it's their own fault." But him
they deserve to be punished.
Yeah, I know. Him saying that means what he's saying is that he's saying that AC Milan knew all along. How were we going to find out unless we actually get access to his betting accounts that he's not going to show anybody? Do you know what I mean? It's ludicrous, man. But
he had a gob full of shite when he was talking about that. Like,
I just thought because I was thinking if we get Benzema to come, Klopp's teeth are going to be flying out. Carragher's going to be spitting on everybody that he drives past. And it's just going to be, it'd be hilarious if we get players like that come through. I don't know. Are we only allowed one, though? I don't know how many we're allowed.
I think we can get, so you're allowed 3 loans in total, but isn't it like 1 from the Premier League and 2 from abroad?
I don't know. I mean, we've got Hall, so there's 1 to start with.
And that would be classed as your Premier League one. So
yeah,
I could be incorrect on this. I've got a feeling it's 3 in total, 1 from the Premier League and 2 from abroad.
Yeah,
so
I'm not certain because I know that Brexit brought a thing up about it, and maybe you were only allowed 1 from Europe, or I don't know. And of course, these are classed as being European players, but they're playing in a different
league
area altogether, So I don't know, but I mean, if we get 2, and imagine if Neves and Benzema rock up in January, it'd just be hilarious, man.
I mean, why not? Because, I've heard a few people talk about it, and they're saying, well, if they do that, then they will pull the plug. They're going to pull the plug in anyways. This vote wasn't like, all right, you can do this forever. It was only a temporary ban anyways until they come up with something a little bit more solid.
Yeah.
So you can guarantee that this will come up again, and the next time they will get it across the line inevitably. I was talking to my dad about it, and my dad's not really a conspiracy theorist. He doesn't believe in agendas and stuff like that. But he was saying to me, it feels like some of these clubs are trying to pull the ladders up behind them. Clubs that have done certain things in the past and went, oh, actually, somebody else is trying to do this now. Well, now that we're in a safe spot and now that we're all right, maybe we can put blocks on these things.
I don't go for conspiracy theories, but I don't see this as a conspiracy theory. It's what's happening. You can see what's happening, and the fact that these teams are voting in the way that they are. But you've got to remember as well that the teams that we're talking about, your Tottenhams and Liverpools and things like that, I've got nothing against their fans or any, Chelsea or any of them. The fans got nothing against them. but the thing is these clubs tried to leave the Premier League and set up a whole different league. And if you look at that, you look at what they got a minuscule fine, and you look that was basically going to it was just going to change everything. And then you look at that, and then you look at the points that, I mean, part of me agrees with the points that Everton have been docked, But you look at it in comparison to what those teams got when they tried to completely change the whole thing for their own benefit and sod the rest. That's basically what it was. Then you
I
look at
agree.
what's happened with Everton and you think, hang on, how's that the same? It's not the same because it's not the same thing. But to me, they should have been thrown out. They should have been relegated to the Northern League and start again, the same as,
Well,
like the Rangers.
I think the difference with that one was they weren't looking to move away from the Premier League. They wanted this alongside the Premier League, didn't they? They wanted the best of both worlds. They wanted this closed off European competition where only they could compete. And what I think they said at the time, it was going to make them £300 million per season.
But
What
there
the
was going to
Premier
be
League said was, yeah,
no relegation or anything, so they were going to be
yeah,
in it for life and sort everybody
exactly.
else.
Exactly, and that was the problem for it, the sportsmanship of it. It was becoming a little bit like the NFL is, and what the Premier League said at the time was like, well, okay, if you're going to do that, you're not going to be in the Premier League. And let's be honest here, the bread and butter really comes from the Premier League. If you're talking about a Super League, the Super League already exists, and it's called the Premier League.
Yeah.
Now, this Super League would have been nothing without those English clubs, absolutely nothing at all. They needed the English clubs to be in that. And when the English clubs decided, well, actually, do you know what it is? It would be nice to have that £300 million there coming in every season. But if we get chucked out the Premier League, that's going to be worse financially for us. Why are we going to cut our noses off to save your faces? Why are we going to do this and lose out on money penultimately by getting kicked out of our league just so Barcelona and Inter Milan and Bayern Munich can earn more money from this competition? Maybe it's not so much Bayern Munich; they earn a lot of money internationally, but the likes of AC Milan, Inter Milan, those clubs, they were the ones that really needed that Super League for that money. Whereas your Premier League clubs are going to make that at least, and if not more. I mean, you look at some of the figures that turnover figures that Manchester City put out the other week. They've overtaken Manchester United now.
Yeah.
So getting kicked out of the Premier League was never an option for them. So it was always on the table. Now, as soon as the threat of being kicked out of the league came across, they turned against that. Now, and this kind of goes into why I think that didn't happen. Now, the same way that that Super League needed those English clubs, the Premier League kind of needs them as well. The Premier League kind of needs those 6 clubs. And all of a sudden, if you take those clubs out of the Premier League, the product that you're serving out there isn't the same. Am I saying that that's right? No, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's right at all. But with what I do agree with you and what you said is that it's a different thing. It is a different thing, and timing is everything. Now, you've got these independent regulators breathing down the neck of the Premier League at the moment, and they're trying to show that they can take care of the league without having them in. They can give out their own punishments, and Everton have fell victim to that somewhat. But let's not forget the fact as well that they did break the rule. And I know everybody's saying, oh, well, it was 119.5 million. It was, or whatever it was. There were only like nearly 20 million over. Yeah, that was after they took away all the other stuff for COVID.
Yeah.
So they took away as much as they could, and they still found themselves 20 million short. So if not, it would have been near 350 million.
Yeah.
So let's not think that that they've been really hard done by because it was only 20 million.
Because
in actual fact,
you can look at likes of Bury and like other teams lower down who end up getting massive reductions and end up folding completely or getting relegated. And I think the lower league teams seem to be hit harder than Everton have. So I don't know, but it's
yeah, no, definitely, and it's going to turn into a nice little segue because now I look back and sometimes some of the frustration. First of all, we'll start off at Newcastle of having these rich owners and not sort of like in times where we probably thought to ourselves, oh, we could have done with 1 or 2 extra players there, and they haven't pulled the plug on that. It's looking like a really, really astute decision now. Now, there's 2 other clubs that are probably sitting going, oh shit. One of which is Manchester City, who it's really well publicized. They've got 115 counts, which is probably going to take 115 years to sort out.
Yeah.
But the other team is the team that we play on Saturday. Now, before we get into the real thing that these videos are for, and that's talking football,
Yeah.
they probably are a little bit worried because it's came out as well. Now, I don't know 100% the exact concrete details, but by doing a little bit of research, it looks like Roman Abramovich had associated companies that
Yeah.
was paying tens of millions to the likes of agents and people associated with some of the deals that Chelsea done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Through
that's
through Putin as well. I know, and I know it's dodgy. It's really dodgy.
so they're
And
going to be looking at 10 points at Everton and going, fuck. You know?
yeah. I agree. I agree. It's but you know, if you're going to do these things, then you know that's it's what's got to happen, because they shouldn't be allowed to do these things.
Mhm.
And even though people will say, "Oh, it's retrospective," it's you know the current owners and whatever had nothing to do with that. Basically, they won trophies on the back of what's happened, you know,
Teams got
and
relegated.
exactly. So yeah, there has to be something. Yeah, they can't just be like, "Oh well, all right, don't do it again, lads." You know,
Mhm.
it's not that's not good enough. But
And I hear
yeah,
Everton. And last thing I want to say on before we move on, I hear Everton's doing a protest at the Manchester City Liverpool game tomorrow. You heard that?
I
The,
didn't know that.
they're flying an aeroplane over because it's a bit dark when they play, so nobody will see the aeroplane. So we're going to fly it over the early game. So they're going to fly an aeroplane over Liverpool's ground tomorrow. Just saying that the Premier League's corrupt and everything. So where were all of these people? Where were they? Where were they when we were
I don't know.
trying to, when we were under Ashley and we had that regime and we were screaming out and everybody was going, well, you get the owner, you get it's his money, you can do whatever
Oh,
you want.
I know.
This is why I find it hard to have sympathy, but that's just me being bitter. But I think, Davey, we should move on to the football. But before we do, I've got a question for you.
Aye.
Are you ready?
I think so. I think
You
so.
sure you're ready?
Go on. I'm ready.
Are you
I'm ready.
fucking ready?
Okay, let's go.
Hey, I've missed him. I've missed him.
Cheeky little chappy, isn't he? So now we've had a bit of rant off the off-field stuff. Newcastle United tomorrow, 3 p.m. St James's Park. Everybody can get back into that lovely feeling of Saturday afternoon football as we entertain the mighty Chelsea.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, Davey, but I'm a little bit apprehensive about what could go on tomorrow. Chelsea seem to have been turning it around a little bit, and our injury plight is getting what
Yeah.
2% better. But we've still got so many players out.
Well,
So
I've got our team here, and I've got you in defence and me playing centre forward. So
you're centre forward, right?
that's
Okay.
where we are in my wheelchair. The
Can we
groundsman
pull?
wouldn't be happy, like.
Can we pull Sai out of retirement? Can we? Yeah? Get him on the left wing. Sai on the left wing. I've got me cat. My cat's free tomorrow. Actually, maybe we could stick him centre forward.
The thing about Chelsea, right? They struggled early on, and it's typical that, I mean, you say that they are starting to try and turn it around and starting to gel a little bit. Individually, they've got some cracking players, and it's like it's one of them where if and when they kind of find a system that works and find the players that are going to work within it, then they'll do well. Now, people are like thinking back and saying, "Oh, they scored 4 goals against Man City on the 12th on the last Sunday before it went into the international break." But Man City scored 4 against them.
I was going to say they also
Do you know what I
conceded 4,
mean?
didn't they?
Now the thing is I've been watching them, right? And I was talking to my mates about it last night, and I says I think I found a little chink in their defense, right? And I'm hoping that he will have seen it. Eddie Howe will have seen it, and I've got a feeling that he'll try and he'll try and do his best to utilize it. Now, one of their best players is Thiago Silva in terms of defense, but he's nearly the same age as me. Do you know what I mean?
I think he's playing his 50th season this season, is he?
But he doesn't, he's a cracking player, but he's the key to the little thing that I've found. Now they play a 4-2-3-1 now. It's very fluid, and the James, especially if he's playing, he's a possible doubt, but if he's playing, he does an off bomb forward, and he'll be getting down that wing. Now, Caicedo seems to stay. He's the one that stays the most. Fernandez is very similar. The runs he makes are very similar. The runs off the ball that Longstaff makes, but mostly it's runs off the ball, and he doesn't seem to actually get the ball very much. He's almost like a decoy, right? But then you've already got 4 players who are up there. And you've got Jackson's who's up front. You've got Gallagher in behind. You've got Palmer who's doing really well on one wing, and Sterling who's quick, and he is playing well at the moment on the other side. So you've got 4 attacking players to start with, right? The thing is, right, that their defense like to play their defensive line when they've got the ball on the halfway line. So they leave a lot of space in behind. Now, a lot of teams worry when, they play that high line and think when you play somebody as quick as Newcastle, when we've got, like some Miggy and Gordon and, whoever else is available, a lot of them are very, very quick. Now, the thing that I've noticed, and it's not been mentioned, is Thiago takes an age when they've got the ball and they're moving forward and they get into their positions. Thiago is 20, 25, 30 yards behind the rest of the back 4. So they're sitting in a line on the halfway line, and he's further back than the edge of the centre circle, and he's kind of just walking back. Now, what they do is they seem to play a lot of the ball when they have it, where it comes out, and it's a bit like what Liverpool used to do, where it comes into the central 2 players, and then they basically, one will move to create like a little bit of a gap, take a player away, and then they move it back out wide again, right?
Oh, I think we're froze. Sorry about that. Me and Davy were temporarily abducted by aliens.
I know, it was amazing.
Yeah, they gave us anal cavity insertions, and we now have satellites up our asses. Now that that's finished, back to what
That's
you're saying.
why we're both doing this.
I was into what you were saying though, Davey, but I think before you went off, you were saying they find that pocket of space and they move it out to the outside. I think
yeah, the ball seems to come into the central 2, and then the one who hasn't got the ball moves into space or comes behind to cover, but then they look to try and get the ball back out wide, and that's where the fullbacks try and push on, right? So they try and get the ball in and out. Now, I think because of the fact that when they're doing that, Thiago Silva is literally just walking up to the halfway line. He's 20, 25, 30 yards behind. Instead of pressing high up the way that we would normally do when we've got everybody fit, right? We haven't got everybody fit. So he might be looking at a different thing, a different way to do. And this is what I would do if I was Eddie Howe. I mean, I'm not Eddie Howe, obviously.
Are you not?
Instead of instead of pressing high and using that energy in pressing high, what I would do is allow them to get the ball into that area and press that midfield too. Like press really. So you've got your centre, whoever's the centre forward coming back and pressing. And then you've got Bruno and one or both of whoever's sitting either side of him in the midfield, really getting onto them and making it difficult. And if they nick the ball and then high the ball forward up either wing, then you've got Gordon's fit. He's the fastest player in the league. If we play the ball, they're playing an offside line, but they've got a guy who's 25 yards behind, playing everybody on side. Play the ball into the area there, and then bang, you're away.
Yeah,
I honestly don't. And I've watched it, and it's not just something that's happened once. It's happened again and again and again and again. And he just seems to be thinking, right, they've got the ball. I'll just he's literally walking up. He's not running to get into that situation. And I think that could be his fitness and his age. And I think we could exploit that. I really think that we could exploit that.
So yeah, I mean, I like that idea of pressing the midfield rather than sort of pressing right from the very top. I think that really high pressed game, that high intensity game, needs to be managed somewhat in any ways. Given
I don't think we can do it with the players that are missing.
Not just with the players that we're missing, what that takes out of a team as well.
Exactly.
We've got some big games coming up in really quick succession.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if we play with that intensity now, I feel like Chelsea, the few times that I've watched them this season, in any ways, I feel like they struggle more when they come up against team that maybe do sit back a little bit more. I'm not saying that we should sit back. We definitely need to take into account we're attacking chances as and when they come. But to play with that intensity of trying to attack all the time. Just look at the Man City game. They like that extra bit of space when teams attack them, and they like to hit a counter punch. So we have to be aware of that as well. So that idea of sort of pressing the midfield too probably wouldn't exert as much pressure out, much steam out of the entire team, bearing in mind the games that we've got coming up as well. Having said that, it's hard to stop a team that's used to playing that way, especially now the players that are going to be included in the starting lineup tomorrow. They're going to be pretty refreshed now after this international break, and we find that when Newcastle United come back from international breaks, they do have that extra bit of juice, that extra bit of energy. Do you think Newcastle United are a team that can sort of develop and take the foot off the gas somewhat, or do you think it's just natural to them and Eddie Howe teams for that way to just really be at it the entire game?
I don't think the way that we play is a natural thing to do. It's like, maybe when you first start out, you kind of chase the ball a lot more when you're like 5-6 year old. But when you start getting coached and they tell you to keep positions, it's only recently. I mean, there have been teams over in history that have done it, where they've pressed high. The Dutch teams did it. There's a few that have done it. I think Hungary did it like back in the 50s, but not in the same way that we do it now. And part of the reason for that is down to fitness levels. You can't run and run and run like that all the way through the game, and you're going to end up dead on your feet. And then that's it, second half, game over. You come out and you have a bit orange and whatever at half time, and then you'd be knackered. And I think the difference now is he's coaching them at a different level to a lot of these players have been coached before. But we have to look at different scenarios and we have to look at different teams. And I just think you mentioned it there. We've got Chelsea, then we've got PSG, then we've got another game next weekend, and then we've got Man United, and then we've got the cup game, and then we've got another weekend game, and then we've got another Champions League game. it's relentless. Do you know what I mean? It's just there's going to be 2 games right up until Christmas time, 2 games a week, and I think purely because we haven't got the players, the depth at the moment, with the amount of players that are out, we've got basically a full team of outfield players missing. And I think if we try and play the way that we normally play, we're going to really, because if you look at Bournemouth, when we played Bournemouth, tactically we didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing wrong with any of the things that we did, but you just look at it, the energy levels just weren't there. There was likes of Gordon, for example, who I've just said he's the fastest player in the league. He was getting overtaken by his fullback again and again and again. The lad was knackered, you know what I mean? And that's going to happen again. And if that happens again, we'll get more injuries again because we haven't got the players to come in and join in. I mean, like, if Hall can't play tomorrow because he's on loan from Chelsea. So do we have Livramento playing and on the right and Trippier on the left? Do we go for that? That's the kind of thing that we're looking at because we're stretched anyway. And I mean, I heard that Longstaff's, there's a possibility he might be missing. Isak's only 25% and he's not been seen in training. So, to me, he's the key. He's the one I want to get back more than anybody. Isak, you want a goal scorer, somebody who's going to change the whole dynamic of how we play. But even
the rumblings on social media tonight is that it looks as though he will play.
Right, I hope he does.
From all areas that I'm sort of seeing, whether there's, I don't know, obviously, I don't think it came from the horse's mouth. I haven't seen Eddie Howe's press conference, but even if he was, I don't think he'd come out and announce he's definitely going to play. Yeah. But look, I mean, what you mentioned Bournemouth the other day, and at this moment in time where things are, I think other teams are looking at it as like a little bit of a wounded animal, not in terms of the results we've been getting, but in terms of the injuries that we've got.
Yeah.
And seeing us as a potential to say, oh God, if there's ever a time to play Newcastle United, now's the fucking time to play them.
Yeah.
Now, you could see that at Bournemouth, but sometimes a wounded animal will come out and it'll attack you.
Yeah.
And
I think we will. I think we will come out. We will come out and go for it.
I think Chelsea will be coming into the game probably quite confident of maybe, getting, well, at least a point and possibly 3 points because of the injuries that we've got. But if there's ever a time for that wounded animal to attack, it's when that wounded animal's had a little bit of time to lick its wounds. And that's what we've had over this 2-week period here. We've had a time to regalvanize.
Yeah.
There's a word in there somewhere. To regalvanize. And I think this 2-week gap, this is probably the game. If we're going to get a result out of any of these games, this is probably the one, I think, because we've had that time to rest. Now, when I look at some of the head-to-heads, I mean, last season it was 2 really, really close games. So we played them on the last game of the season last season, where wasn't really much to play for either team. To be fair, I thought Lewis Hall was the best player for Chelsea on that particular game. That won't be an issue this time round.
Yeah.
However, I think Chelsea are a lot better team than they were in that last day of that last season. And obviously the reverse of this fixture last season, it's in James's Park. We saw an absolutely stunning goal from Joe Willock, but again, it was a really close, tight affair. Yeah. And I've got a feeling it could be the same again tomorrow. You might see one goal win it tomorrow.
Oh, I agree. I mean, to be honest, I'd not be happy with a point, but I'd be okay with a point.
Take one.
Yeah, it's just it's literally just kind of get to Christmas, get to January, and get through it first of all without any more injuries, and try and pick up a handful of points here and there. Eddie Howe will be wanting to win every game that we go for, but he's got to be realistic as well and look that my concern is that the few players that we've got left could end up getting injuries because they're going to be playing 2 games a week.
Davey, I think it's inevitable we get more injuries.
Yeah.
Because we can't rotate those players and the amount of football, and it's not just the amount of football. It just seems like we play a top team every single game. Now, Bournemouth come at a bad time, really. You know, had the
Definitely.
reversal of the fixtures, had we played Chelsea in the last game, and we're
Yeah.
playing Bournemouth tomorrow, I'll be like, yeah, out and out, we're going to go and win that game. We're fully repaired, and you know, Chelsea are a good team. That's why there's maybe a little bit of doubt now, and all of the injuries. But the talk about, you know, I mean, let's talk. We'll talk about injuries now. So, I mean, Chelsea are not without their injuries. They've got a few
Oh yeah, they've
themselves.
got a few. Yeah.
So ones that are definitely ruled out for Chelsea. There's Wesley Fofana, Ben Chilwell, Christopher Nkunku. He's definitely out. Chukwuemeka, he's out. Chalobah, he's out. Gusto's possibly out. Colwell's possibly out. Lavia's possibly out. So, but when you look at the depth of their team, you know, it wasn't that long ago that they signed 425 players over the stage of like 3 transfer windows. So their team goes a lot
for
deeper.
500 billion
Then you
pounds.
compare that to ours, and for 500 billion pounds, which was all within FFP. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever, and they're definitely not going to get docked points. But for us, we've got obviously Sandro Tonali. We know we're not going to be seeing him until next year. Jacob Murphy, he's still out. He's still being assessed. Dan Burn, he's out. Callum Wilson looks like he's going to be out, doesn't he? He pulled out of the England squad.
Yeah.
I really can't see him not being ready. I mean, being ready for tomorrow.
I kind of see him this
Elliot
year.
Anderson, he's still out. No. Sven Botman, he's out. Harvey Barnes, he's out. Lewis Hall, he can't play because it's his parent club. Bruno Gomes, Almiron, Shaw are the 3 I think that are looking good to go tomorrow, with Isaac as well, possibly.
I mean, there was a doubt about
could be our saving grace tomorrow.
Yeah, there was a doubt about Shea, but he was on the bench, unused substitute for Switzerland, which is a positive sign. But you know, they would have preferred to have played him, obviously. You know, so he's clearly not 100%. So you know, you might find that he doesn't play tomorrow. He might not start. He might play Dummett. You know, it's one of those. He's not. He's definitely not 100%.
I mean,
so I don't know. Does he leave until Tuesday? Longstaff's the one that you know. There's a question mark with Sean Longstaff.
It's the one we're going to really miss. I don't think he is going to be right for tomorrow.
I don't think he is.
Obviously, Manquillo and Target we already know.
The thing is we've got Joe Linton and Bruno and Willock. So Willock can go on the other side, and Joe Linton can, you know, be on the left side of the midfield. Willock can go anywhere really. He's a player that can play in a number of positions. That's what I would do with the midfield tomorrow, because I don't think Longstaff's going to be playing. Almiron, I've heard there's doubts about him as well, but I've got a feeling he'll play, and Gordon will play. But
let's go through your team. Let's go through your team from back to front. Let's have a look and see what you've. I've got a feeling you've probably got a similar one to me.
It's just very difficult because I've gone Pope and I've gone Livramento at right back with Lascelles next to him, and then I've put Dummett instead of Shea, purely because I don't think Shea's 100%, and because of the amount of games we've got coming up, I don't think you'll want to risk him and then find him worse and then he can't play Tuesday. He might wait until he says if he's okay for Tuesday, you know. Hall can't play, so I think Trippier will play on that left-hand side. I've just mentioned me midfield 3, Joe Linton, and Willock and Bruno. Miggy on one side and Gordon on the other. And after that, to be honest, I'm struggling. I honestly I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know who's. I don't think Isak's going to play. I'm going to put Isak in just because there's a possibility that he might be fit. But if he's not fit, I cannot see who he's going to start with. And
what I think
does he
you'll
start
do?
with Richie or someone like that and put Gordon in the middle?
Well, here's what I think the shout might be. So I've also gone Pope and goal, Livramento right back. I've gone Lascelles and Shaw in the middle, and I've also gone for Trippier on the left. Now this is me ideal. Everybody being well enough to start the game would be the same middle three and same top three as you.
Mhm.
If Isaac isn't ready, I think you may go Joe Linton, Bruno, and Miley. Sorry, oh God, sorry, got a bit of heartburn there. So yes, so Willock, Bruno, and Miley in the middle three. Joe Linton on the left, with Almiron
Yeah.
on the right, and Gordon through the middle.
Yeah,
Is
it's got to be
is
something like that. It's got to be a big change. And Gordon's the one that's going to be asked to play up front again, and he's not
well,
a centre forward, but
if they're both
yeah,
not ready, he has to be.
I
It
know
has
he's
to
going to
be.
have to. It's difficult,
Till we get
but
Benzema in January, he's going to have to do, isn't he?
I know. I mean, for Chelsea, I've literally just gone for exactly the same team that they played against Man City. James is a possible. He might not be able to make it, but you said that because Gusto came on for him in that game, and you mentioned that he might be injured as well.
Yeah, he
So
is.
so they might have a problem at their right back, and if they've got a problem at their right back, I think Eddie Howe will be itching to have Gordon playing on that side. You know, he might throw one of the young lads in. You never know. He brought that young lad in the last game.
I mean, he's going to have to at some stage, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to have to because we haven't got a choice.
He's going to
But
have to.
yeah, so I've literally gone for the same team, Sanchez, and then whoever is going to be right back, and I don't know who they'll play. If I'd rather that James didn't play. I don't want anybody to be injured, but that could be our saving grace if they're struggling to field a right back out of the million players that they've got in that team. And then there's Dizazi, Thiago Silva, Cucurella, Caicedo and Fernandez in the middle, and then Palmer, Gallagher, Sterling with Jackson in front. And I think they seem to be bringing Mudryk on every now and then, but then the formation changes when they bring him on because he's basically a winger and Sterling's been out there. I don't think they know what the best team is yet. I still that's my thing. He's got so many players that they've brought in. I still don't think he knows where his best team is. But because of the fact that they scored 4 against Man City, I think he'll try and keep it the same. And that's why I've gone for that.
Well, you mentioned one player there, Enzo Fernandez, which is going to be interesting seeing him and Joe Linton on the same pitch because I wonder if there's still a little bit of gunpowder left in the barrel from the encounter during the week. Maybe something might explode from there. So that'll be an interesting review because did you see the red card for Joe Linton?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Somebody told me it was a really bad foul and all this is terrible and whatever. And
it was a foul on him.
exactly.
he got fouled.
He literally went like
that
to like shove him away, and he got sent off. And I thought, what? But yeah, Joe Linton's. He's got him and Bruno, the two of them. They've got to try and keep out of these personal things when things have happened. Bruno's terrible. When somebody does something to him, the switch just disappears in his head, and he seems to have to get revenge on them. And I would be saying to get revenge, go and score a goal, go and do something brilliant, and that's the revenge. Rather than going and kicking someone and then ending up getting getting booked again or
A
sent
lot of
off.
South American players can be like that. I mean,
Yeah.
Bruno's a bit like that. Tino Spria used to be very much like that.
Yeah.
What you call him? Our horse thief, Mr. Biter. Suarez.
Yeah.
There's a lot that they seem to sort of let the tempers get the better of them, don't they? But then again, if you take that out of the game, are they the same players?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. They just seem to take things personally, and it's not. And I think there's professionals that play in the Premier League they'll use that. They're clever and they'll use that, and Shearer used to do it all the time because he was clever and he would get players sucked in, and he would, they'd end up fouling them or worse, and they'd end up getting sent off, and he's drawn them into it. And these players do that, and if you've got a character like that, there's always going to be somebody who will try and get the better of you in that. It's like that mind game, and they'll be niggling at you and doing little things, and the referee won't even see half of it. I mean, there'll be things caught on VAR, but not like major things. Like just like the little kickers that are going past and stuff, and the stamp on the toe and that. While when the ball's nowhere near, you know what I mean, and nobody's looking. But
I mean, the last thing we need is a red card.
Oh, I know.
Somebody getting
I know,
a free match
I know,
ban. That would
exactly.
that would be an absolute disaster. So,
Exactly.
well, I think we should give with scorelines, Davy. I think I might have give the game away. I might be going with mine a little bit earlier in the video. But what are you thinking?
I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to go 1-0 to us. I think it's more than likely going to be a draw. If I was going to bet on it, I would say a draw. But I don't think they're as good as people think that they are, and I just think there's a number of weaknesses in there, and we could exploit it. And as a defensive unit, like I've said, if we not sit right back and just allow the pressure on, but if we have a decent, unit, as we've got Livramento who can get forward. I'm sure he'll be playing. We've got players who can get forward and attack. So, we've still got decent. We look at who we've just picked there. The key is whether Isak's playing or not. But we can still offer. We've still got something to offer, and like you say, the breaks there. My mates took Newcastle to win in our little £2.50 bet that we have every week. So our bets dependent on Newcastle winning, and I'd be over the moon if we do. So I'm going to go for a 1-0.
I'm also going 1-0. I do think one goal decides this game, and mentioning that little bit of the powder keg exploding from Joe Linton, and let's back him to do what you said and punish these things with skills on the pitch.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm going to go for a Joe Linton goal for a Newcastle 1-0 win, and it's not a must win right. We can't win tomorrow, right, and be that's it. We're definitely going to go in the top four. But when I look at the two games that are coming up, Chelsea and then Manchester United, if we win both of those games, nothing's decided. But if we
it's still early days. It's still early days.
If we lose those two games, I think we lose the pack a little bit.
We lose a little bit ground, but I don't think we're not out of it. It works the same way for both. I think if we win those two games, then we're up there with them, and it gives us a better chance. If we lose them, I think when we get players back come January, we could go on a massive run, because the confidence and everything will be back. We get all those players coming back in dribs and drabs through that January period, and I think he'll play a second string in the FA Cup. I really think he's going to have to, depending on who we've got. But you know, it would be nice for to beat Chelsea in the cup and get through the semi-final as well. You know, so there's a lot of
who are getting the cup in the FA Cup. I think we're either going to get Brazil or France. By the way, these draws are going on. We're going to get the Harlem Globetrotters,
and then lose to Port Vale in the final.
But no, you're right. Look, and I don't know. Maybe the nerves are getting the better of us a little bit. I am starting to get a little bit. I don't know, that feeling I had after Bournemouth. I think it was good that the international break came when it did to sort of, because I was feeling a little bit negative. And it was just more. Is it negative or was it just worried? Or
I'll tell you what.
I was finding it difficult to see a way out of this, and I hope that now that I've had this breather, I hope that tomorrow we'll come back and we are rejuvenated, and prove me wrong.
I'll tell you what I try and think now. Like, you know, I'll try not to worry about things that I've got no control over. Now, it's difficult not to worry about your football team, but that's why I basically take it one game at a time. I don't think about the big picture. I don't think about anything else. And I'm sure that this is what Eddie Howe does. He just focuses on the next game. You know, he'll be thinking possibly about Tuesday. And because he's got to manage his players now, he's got to think ahead because he's got to manage his players. But the only thing that I can do is turn up and shout and scream and support. And that's all we as fans can do. And if we do that, with everything else that's going on, if we turn up and we make an absolute racket, and Chelsea will be like, hang on, I thought there was something wrong with these, you know, like, and why are the fans still all shouting and screaming and bawling and singing and everything? That's what we need to do. And if Chelsea score early on, get singing even more. Do you know what I mean? That's the things that we can do. We can't control the game itself, but we can get into the heads of their players, you know, and we can get into the heads of our players and say, we are here, we are with you. We want you to do as best as you can. We're doing our bit. We're hoping that you're going to do your bit. I'm trying not to worry about things that I can't control. And this is one of them. And that's basically how I see it. And I think that's what we have to do.
No, agreed. I couldn't have put it any better. And, you know, even if things doesn't go our way, it could always be worse. You could be an Everton fan.
Oh, man.
No, we will wrap it up there. We will be back after the Chelsea game and most likely before the Paris game. I just want to say as well, any fans going over to Paris, just fucking gang canny, Reet. Just fucking be careful. It's not Germany, Reet. They're not as friendly over there as they are in Germany. I'm probably speaking to my brother here, really. I'm not speaking to fans. I'm speaking to my brother. Gan canny, David, Reet. Don't gan raj, Reet. Watch yourself. They're a bit raj over there. But no, we'll be back. If you've gotten this far in the video, thank you. Please give her a little like, a little thumbs up. Leave a comment down below with what you think the scoreline will be and your scorers. Still anybody winning a prize. Somebody will win a prize. And don't forget to share and subscribe. It really does help us grow as a channel. Anyways, we will be back. But until then, I'll say, come on.
How well, lads.